good morning. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Saturday 10 a.m. technique at the Showtime online crop. I apologize for the delay this morning, and I seem to be live on my video, but oh, there it is. My computer wasn't catching up. There we go. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later on replay, you can drop a comment. Good morning, Laura. I hope you had a good night's sleep. We had lots of fun yesterday creating, chatting, and crafting. And we are ready for a whole new day, even though I'm a little slow this morning. And it's not that I'm late waking up because I got up at 6:30, but, you know, got one of my kiddos out the door and off to their events for the day, and yeah, just puttering along, apparently. So good morning. I'm glad you found us. Hello, Heather. Good morning. So this morning we're going to be creating a starburst, and a starburst is, you kind of think of it as sun rays. And we're going to do it on a small scale. We're going to do it for a card, and hopefully it will give you a little bit of inspiration for making either a card with this technique or even something bigger, like putting it on a layout. So we're going to be making a floating starburst type of design. We're going to be using some designer series paper from the Celebratory Sips collection. And also we're going to be using the Cheers and Sips stamp set for our sentiment. And yeah, let's get started. Good morning, Carol. We're going to be starting out with a card base that is Old Olive, and this is a standard sized card base. So it is 5.5 by 8.5. It's been scored at 4 1/4, and we're going to fold it with the bump side to the inside. Make sure everything lines up, crease it down. Now I'm going to be creating my card today on the horizontal, so we're going to put the folded edge at the top to create this. And before we get going too far, we're going to add a little bit of paper to the inside of our card, because you can write on Old Olive. It's not that dark, but it might be easier if we just add a panel. This is 5 1/4 by 4 inches of basic white willow. I'm going to grab my take a pick tool, and the white willow is available in 12 by 12 sheets. And if you're familiar with Close to My Heart, white willow is the identical paper to White Daisy, the paper formerly known as White Daisy. Same manufacturer, same product, just Stampin' Up! Changed it so it matched their naming system. So white willow it is. Good morning, Deborah, and Katie's here too. Good morning. So we've added just a blank panel in the inside. We're not going to do anything fancy with the inside for now, because we want to focus on what we're going to do on the front. And it's going to be deja vu all over again, because we're going to put another panel, exact same size, the 5 1/4 by 4 inches, white willow, on the front of our card. So let's get that stuck down. It's like a wash, rinse, and repeat for this particular piece, isn't it? But I want to have that nice little border of the Old Olive all the way around the edge of my card, and because it'll kind of pick up on all of the nice colors in the designer series paper. But then I want something on here to help make all the fun colors pop, and so we went back to the white willow for that. Okay, now we're going to create the starburst. So are you ready? This is where we're starting. Good morning, Judy. You're going to go play Pokemon with your grandkids. Awesome. Have fun with that. Good morning, Michelle. So to start, I'm going to shift this out of the way. We're going to have a panel of white willow. It really can be any color. I'm just using white willow because it's easy. I was already cutting it. This piece is going to be completely hidden, and so it really matters not what the color is, but white is just easy. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to cover it in adhesive. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% covered, but we're going to do our best. So I'm going to make sure that I've got coverage on all the edges. That is a very important part of this process. So I'm going to go all the way around. If you're using a tape runner, it's probably quick and easy. You could use liquid glue, but I personally wouldn't for this, because I would end up getting it all over myself. So we're just going to fill in the center with some strips. It's not solidly filled in. If I was going to fill it in solid, I would use the adhesive sheets to do that. And we're just going to take our backings off. And 2 more. So we've made sure that we've got adhesive around the edges and then some in the center. Okay. Now we're going to, now that we've done all that, we're going to set this sort of off to the side because we're going to need to bring in our paper trimmer. We're going to have 4 pieces of designer series paper, and these 4 pieces have been cut to various sizes. You'll see that they're kind of graduated sizes. And so I will be putting all these measurements when I post my photos, but just so you know, we've got a 3/4 inch by 3.5. So 3/4 inch by 3.5. Now you'll notice this is a directional pattern on this one, and I'm just going to make sure that when I cut it, the pattern will be going the way that I want it to go. That's why we're starting with this particular pattern in the smallest size. And the opposite side is a pattern that I love because we're going to use both sides of this piece. Okay, so we've got 3/4 inch by 3.5. Our next piece is 7/8 of an inch by 4 inches. So 7/8 by 4. And I like both patterns. And then our next piece is 1 inch by 4.25. Lovely colorful flowers. And on the back side is a fun stripe. So that was 1 inch by 4.25. And then the final piece is 1 3/8 by 4 3/4. So 1 3/8 by 4 3/4. And this one I'm only using one side of. So it doesn't matter that this side looks bizarre. I only want the one side. So in total, our little starburst is going to have 2, 4, 6, 7 pieces. Okay? So that's where we're starting. We're starting off with those 4 pieces. And what we need to do now is we need to bring in our paper trimmer because we need to create the angles, right? We said starburst is like the angles of the sun rays, and so we need to create some angles. Now I'm going to have this be my first, I'm going to have my fan of my rays of my starburst kind of casts or radiating out from the lower left to the right, like this. So this one is going to be my first one at the bottom. And so when you think about this logically, I want my direction of my flowers to be going up. So I'm going to have to cut my angle from my top right corner to my lower left. Okay? So I'm going to take this and line it up on my trimmer with my top right and my lower left points in the cutting spot. And it's a little bit tricky because it wants to shift around because my paper got a little bent. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my cutting blade to about the center of my paper, stick it down. Oops, it's popped out of the track. Let's try that again. Stick it down and then cut from the center out to the edges. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I start and I come and bang right into the corner of my paper, it's going to rumple more than cut. So if you start in the middle and go out, then your points will be nice and pointy. and they won't be all gobbledygook. Okay, so now let's bring in our piece of cardstock, our 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 inch. Good morning, Mom. So we said we were going to start in the lower left, and our rays were going to radiate out towards the right. So this piece with this 90-degree corner right here is going to line up along the bottom. And what you want to do is make sure that this little pointy end here is right in the corner. And you're going to line up right along the edge, and there is a little bit of leeway, and you'll notice that a bit is going to stick over the edge. Always give yourself a little tiny bit extra. So much easier to try to trim a little bit off at the end than to, oh no, not have enough. Okay, now we're not wasting this piece because this piece is going to get flipped over, and now this piece is going to line up along this side. So make sure that that point is right down in the end and then going up like so. Okay, so we've got our first 2 pieces starting our little starburst. Now we're moving on to our piece that's 7/8 by 4 inches, and this is not really a directional pattern, so it doesn't much matter which way it's going to end up. So you just do what you did before, line up your 2 points. Let me see, we're going to go this way because I want my black to be the next one above my directional flowers that we put on the bottom. So we're going to be going this way. So we want our point, sharp point down here, and our wide point up here. So again, we're cutting from the same direction, top right, lower left. Get it lined up. Position your little cutter there. If you have a the words escape me. If you have a rotary trimmer, then you can just roll over those little points. It's fine. All right, so now this one, again, we've got our 90-degree corner down here. We're going to line up our point right to that point of the card. You can even ignore the other pieces of paper that are there and just make sure that point gets in the corner. And you're going to butt it right tight up to that first piece and stick it down. Again, we're going to have overhang, and we're okay with that. This one, we're going to flip so that we've got our lovely pattern showing on this side. And we're going to make sure that that point gets right out to the corner of our base page and stick it on down. So you'll notice that because of the way that the patterns were created on front and back, we have like a more vivid pattern and then a more solidy pattern, and it's going to alternate. We did that on purpose. Yay! And then our next piece, we have these beautiful flowers. This was our 1 inch by 4 1/4. Again, it's neither direction on either side. So we're going to do the same thing. Top right, lower left. And if we always maintain that, we will end up with what we want. Because our last piece was that blackish solid looking pattern. So now we're going to go for a more colorful pattern on the bottom side, and there I didn't even start in the middle. I didn't follow my own advice. You know, sometimes you just off-road. Okay, so now again we're going to take this, the 90-degree corner down at the bottom. We're going to line it up there in the corner. We're going to butt it up against the one before and stick it down. Now this other piece, we can flip it over to the opposite pattern. Line up that point in the corner and stick it down. Now we have space for one more piece, and that's why I said that our last piece is not going to be, we're not using both sides, so it doesn't matter if you have a weird pattern, but we're going to line it up again the same way, bottom left, top right, if you're looking at it horizontally. And we're going to trim it from corner to corner. And we're going to line it up with our other edges, tuck it right in there. Ta-da! we have created our little burst. Isn't that fun? And then all we have to do to fix up what we've got hanging over is we turn it to the back side, and we're going to follow that base cardstock that we started with and just trim all the way along. And because we put the adhesive on the cardstock and not on the little triangles, we don't have to worry about cutting through any adhesive with our scissors. And if you've got a little bit of overhang on any of the sides, you're of course going to trim that off like so. Gather up all our little bitty bits. And there you go. We have a lovely, fun panel created, Starburst, alternating patterns and colors and styles. I love it. And then we can bring in our base card, and we're going to line it up here because everything's pointing to the top right, we're going to come over here to the top right, so we'll leave a little bit more space at the bottom. But we want to make it a little bit more oomph, so we're going to float it by adding some dimensionals on the back. Just pop those in the corners, and then we can add a little bit more like so. Take all our backings off, and then when you go to stick it down, you got to remember which way the rays are going. You wouldn't want to get this far and then stick it down and realize, oh my gosh, I put it on the wrong way. So before you stick, double check. Deborah says she likes the longer look. The longer look. And so we're going to stick that up here. I'm not sure what you mean by the longer look, but that's okay. Awesome. So we have, oh, you liked it when it was jaggedy. I get it. Before we trimmed it, you liked the having all the edges sticking out. Absolutely. That is a cool look too. And you could even not dovetail them, but make them point out so they had kind of a long diamond-y shape going on. That would be fun too. Lots of different variations you can create with that. Okay, now to add some embellishment to our fun card that we have created, I like how popping that up with some dimensionals, you get a little bit of shadow under there. I think it's really cool. We're going to do some fussy cutting because in this Celebratory Sips collection, you can tell that I have been fussy cutting. You get some really fun drinks and things. And so let's grab a couple of these. I like this one with the little spriggy here. And yes, I do just kind of keep hacking away at this piece of paper. Don't worry. This is why it's good that 2 of these come in each of the packs, because sometimes you might want this pattern. But I think it's really cool to fussy cut this side because you get all these lovely drinks and they're already colored for you. And I know I have the stamp set that has all the ability to create the fun drinks. And yes, I have done that. I've been playing with that a lot. This is already done for me. It's already a done deal. The other thing I like about this particular set is that these are hand drawn. They are not like mechanically even or digitally even or whatever you want to call, like they're not symmetrical. The lines are a little wobbly. So if you're just practicing your fussy cutting, this is a great one because you don't have to cut a particularly straight line because it's already wonky. It's a wonky on purpose. And so we're just going to trim. We're going to leave a halo around. We're going to pivot our paper. When we open our scissors to advance the blade, we're going to open and slide forward at the same time so that the blade never loses contact with the paper. And that helps to avoid getting those little jaggedy edges. And then we're just going to come down here and around the bottom like that. And then up the side and across. There we go. So we've got a couple of fun little fruity, summery drinks happening there. And this one has a garnish, but this one doesn't. So I think that's super sad. So we need to find a garnish on here to add. And I think we're going to go for this little orange twist on here. And yes, you see when I was coming across there, I didn't cut through any of the others because, you know, I might just want to fussy cut those later too. So, you know, we're not going to just chop our way through. We're going to meander a little pathway. And then we can go ahead and fussy cut this. Now I'm going to fussy cut this maybe a little closer, a little less halo, just because we're adding this as a garnish on the drink. Again, it's an easy one to fussy cut because it's small, for one, but it's got jiggledy, jaggedy edges already, so it makes it easier. And around the last corner. There we go. And I'm going to attach my garnish to my cup before I attach it to my card. So I'm just going to put a little dot of glue just in the center there. And I'm going to kind of hook that little end of the peel onto my cup like so, and just kind of have it dangling over the edge. You'll give that glue a half second to dry. Close that up, and then let's add some dimension on this. We got to pop these up. So let's add a couple there, and a couple there, and then one in the middle just for good luck. And whoops, can take our backings off. It's not as sturdy as that last piece because it has no cardstock on the back. It's just the pattern paper, the designer series paper. Yes, Deborah, I just realized you also commented you like the look before I trimmed. We're going to put it here a little bit tipped, a little wonky. And then let's add this other one. We're going to add some adhesive to this too. But I'm going to keep it to the outside edges, because what we're going to do is this is going to get layered on top of both of these. And these are both popped up. So this is going to be like a double pop layer. And we're going to straddle the gap in between these two. So we're just going to pop that on there like that. So it's hitting both of those, and it kind of covers up that little corner in case your little corner got a little chunky, got a little odd. We're going to cover it up. Now, to add our sentiment on here, I went ahead and I cut out a piece of paper, which now appears to not exist. It's probably stuck to my arm, but we can acquire another piece because it was just one of these ones that was on the back of this pattern paper. Some of these lovely colored blocks, and these are fun for stamping the little drinks from the stamp set on, but also you can stamp your sentiments on here, and it's already lovely and watercolory looking, just like the pattern paper. And I'm like scanning my desk, and my stamp is like right here, but my brain's going, where's my stamp? Where's my stamp? I'm going to use the black Memento ink for this. We're going to ink it up and stamp the word cheers right on there. And then we can trim it up. And I suppose I could be good and use an actual trimmer and not just my scissors. So let's bring the trimmer back in. And when I'm trimming something sort of small like this, I'm going to actually tidy up that bottom. It's a little bit jaggedy. You know what, I might tidy that up with my scissors. I use this end of the trimmer. You know, there's measurements along here too. Not that I need the measurements, I'm just eyeballing it. But because it's closer to my face, I kind of get a better view of where I'm cutting. And then one last trim. There we go. So we didn't even have to watercolor our own paper. We just had to go ahead and use the pattern paper. Now this bottom is a little jaggedy, so I'm just going to tidy it up. And why not? Let's dovetail the end here. You could totally dovetail the starburst ends. You know how I said you could do it as a point to look like diamonds, but you could dovetail it. All right, let's bring this in, and we're going to add this on top of our final drink here. So we're going to put some dimensional on this end so it matches the height, but we're going to just put some glue on that end. So let's grab one dimensional here, stick it down near the dovetail, and then we'll put a little dot of glue right there to attach it to the drink. Take our backing off. And we're going to stick that right on there like that. Lovely. Cheers. And I think cheers is a great one because it can be for anything. Like we're in the, there's my piece of paper. I knew I got a piece of paper. It's all good. Cheers is a good one. Like we've just had a graduation here at our house. So cheers would work for that. Could be anniversary, could be birthday, could be just cheers. Like, hello. You know, my husband, him and one of his buddies, whenever they're leaving, they're always like, okay, see you later, cheers, you know. So it covers a lot of things. So I'm going to use the 2025-2027 in color flat pearls for this. And that's kind of nice because they are pearl shaped, but they are flatter than regular pearls. They do not bump up with as much dimension. So when you're putting this in the mail, it's not going to cost you, you know, $1,000 to mail. So let's add these, and I think you can tell which color was my favorite on here, and that's this one, which is the Secret Sea, this nice dark color, and so we're just adding some of those on there, and now sadness, they're all gone. Gonna have to order another pack, but you can definitely tell I like that one the best, and it's been matching the things that I've been doing. I wanted to pull in a little bit of that Secret Sea color from our Ray here and move it around, and that kind of tones down some of the sweetness of the pinks and the bright colors, and I just think that's a fun card. I love this technique, just creating different sized rectangles, starting with your narrowest and shortest and moving to your widest and longest, and having that base piece of cardstock underneath to help you maintain the shape that you want to create, and then just trimming around however you want to do that. Got some good ideas from other people, and then adding your embellishments using that Celebratory Sips and Cheers and Sips stamp set. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that card come together. And if you create a starburst like this on one of your projects, be sure to take a photo of it and pop it in the comments so we can see your artwork and be inspired and excited to create something like this for ourselves. All right, have a wonderful rest of your morning. We'll be on at 11:30 for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Toodaloo. Bye.